got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hey, what's up, everybody? How are you doing? What's going on out there, you guys? Yeah, what you saw there was Sabrina frozen, so she'll be coming back. She had to restart her computer. Just want to say, guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I'm sure there's many things you guys can do other than hang out with me on a nice Saturday night, but hey, thank you so much. I am your host, Dano. You are watching the Cryptid Podcast. You guys, tonight we're going to try to give you a really good quality show. We're going to be going over we're going over the Ape Canyon Incident, and then we're going to be going over a 1988 lizard man attack, I believe in South Carolina. Sabrina will be covering that. I'm covering Ape Canyon. Other than that, I just want to say again, welcome in the chat, Michelle, Rasting, Audacious Amber. Okay, I had to look at that twice before. Ashes, we got Ashes in the house. We got Kenneth. We got Rod. We've got Vonnie, or we had Vonnie for a short time. We got Kristen. You guys, thank you so much for joining the chat. Seven, what's up? So you guys, tonight, Fergie, hello. So this is what's going on, you guys. We're going to go ahead and we're going to be doing the Ape Canyon Incident. Again, you guys, I'm sure there are a lot of other ones out there that have done Ape Canyon, have done little movies, have done complete episodes on it. Those guys really know what they're doing. I like to think I know what I'm doing. But I'm just kind of bring a different spin on it. But if anybody out there has ever had an encounter, would like to come on the show, please email me at the cryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You guys know I do have a giveaway going for every person who joins the Cryptid crew, $2.99 a month. I am going to be doing a drawing for a hat just like this. The winner, I'll go ahead and send that to you. All members who are already currently a member of the Cryptid crew, your name is already in the drawing. So that giveaway ends in 10 days, guys. It ends in 10 days. And we got a special guest coming back. There she is.
Hi.
So they kind of saw part of your face. You're like,
It's okay.
But
That's
yeah,
okay.
so she's back. So what are you going to be covering tonight? I kind of said you're going to be handling the lizard man thing.
Yeah.
So
I could do the lizard man, and then I have the wild man of the Navidad in Texas.
Nice. So you're going to get two. And then also, you guys, just want to let you know, this is not a set in stone thing, but my buddy Josh from Mysteries Unknown, we are tentatively going to be doing a live Thursday night. So the Thursday night lives hopefully will be coming back on a regular basis. So anybody who is a member or a subscriber on Mysteries Unknown, we're gonna try to bring those back. Those kind of went off to the side for a little bit. They kind of sat on the back burner. Because my buddy Josh was literally working like 25. He was working literally 80 hours a week. I heard Ape Canyon movie was totally overdone, like most Hollywood movies. I'm going to have to watch it. You guys, the things that I'm going to try to bring to you guys is the format that I do is just raw. I want you guys to get the feel that it's just you and I. We're sitting down. We're just having a chat. You're telling me a story. I'm asking a little bit of questions. And that's the kind of feel. I try not to do too many edits. And I've only had to do a few edits. So, but with that being said, how about we go ahead and get into the Ape Canyon Incident?
Yeah.
So, and I kind of got a little treat for you guys when I get done kind of reading this. Hey, Philip, how's it going? So, the Ape Canyon Incident happened in July of 1924. Actually, I believe it happened either on July 12th or July 13th of 1924. It's near the southeast shoulder of Mount St. Helens in Washington State, in a narrow gorge now known as Ape Canyon. In July of 1924, a group of 5 gold prospectors, Fred Beck, Gabe Lefevre, John Peterson, Marion, and Roy Smith, claimed to have been attacked by a group of large ape-like creatures while staying in a cabin near Mount St. Helens. The men recounted a harrowing night when creatures pelted their cabin with rocks and tried to break in through the roof and walls. The incident gained national attention through newspaper coverage, and has since become legendary in the Bigfoot lore. Now, the eyewitnesses to the account, we've got Fred Beck's testimony. His is the most detailed surviving account from that incident. Fred Beck, who later wrote a pamphlet titled "I Fought the Ape Man of Mount St. Helens," which was published in 1967. And I was looking for that, and apparently I wasn't looking hard enough. So Beck's claim said that the men first spotted a large, hairy, upright creature watching them from the woods. When they noticed it, they were all kind of just, hey, like, what's going on? What's that? And so one of the creatures was also allegedly shot by Beck, and it fell into the gorge. That night, multiple creatures, he claimed up to 7 feet, attacked their cabin. Now, before that happened, Beck, and I want to say it was Gabe and one other, they attempted to go and look for the body, but they were driven back to their cabin. Now, it's not like they were chased, but the Sasquatch were letting their presence be known. So over the night, these creatures were standing on ledges above the cabin and started tossing large boulders down. And when they were hitting the cabin, they were busting up the logs that made the roof, and were also busting in parts of the walls. At one point, one even tried to reach through a hole in the wall, and they had shot at it. Hey, you guys, my buddy Josh is in. Hey, Dan, the man, love you, bro. This is love this channel, man. I'm glad you're in. I'm glad to see you. I was just telling them about the tentative return of the live shows Thursday nights with you and me. So I think you guys are going to be rocking that, hopefully. So the men fired their rifles through the gaps in the walls to fend off these attackers. The siege lasted several hours before ending at dawn. Now, when it ended at dawn, these guys did not just come straight out of the cabin. They didn't. They kind of took their time, looked, and then finally went out. And then when they did, they definitely hightailed it out of there. Now, Beck is known to have said that these creatures were about 7 feet tall, covered with blackish brown hair, and walked upright like a man. Marion and Roy Smith, this is less is known directly from them, but with Beck's account, he suggested that both men corroborated seeing large bipedal figures and taking part in defending the cabin. The newspaper that this is printed in was the Oregonian, however you want to say it. One of the earliest public accounts appeared in that newspaper, and the date that they have it on here is wrong. This was what they're saying here was on the 16th of July, and I'll get into that because that is not an incorrect date for a publication of this story. However, it's the wrong date for when the first publication came out. The first publication came out, I believe, on the 12th. The miners claimed they were attacked by mountain devils, and that's what it was known as. That's what it was known as, was mountain devils attack miners. And so again, They were terrified at daylight. They fled the area. They went back up there. Fred brought them back up there, and he brought. Let's see. He brought local sheriff and a couple other people. And Jason, who are you talking to? You ever been in the woods, son? I live in Cougar, Washington. I mean, legendary. Okay, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Jason. Jason's my bro. Jason B. Miller. That dude, he's awesome. So he came back with a group of people, and they actually found prints, tracks, but they didn't locate any body or anything like that. An expert from the article says the men were uninjured but badly shaken, and swore they would not return to the site, even if it meant abandoning the rich gold claim. Now, I don't know if they actually found a ton of gold, but I mean, from what I understand, this place is pretty remote. Lewis County Sheriff John W. Jake McClelland led a small posse to the site to investigate the findings. What they did find were, in fact, large rocks scattered around the cabin. They did find like some footprints around the area, though. No plaster casts were made at the time. No conclusive evidence of any ape-like type attackers. His stance was that it might have been a prank by rival miners or mischievous locals. So, I mean, it's real easy to see where that people would go ahead and just kind of blow this off, like as a practical joke. Later on, Fred Beck claimed that some of the creatures exhibited paranormal abilities, suggesting that incident was not entirely physical. So again, I'm not really sure on what to do about that, because those claims were made later on, not after the incident was reported by them. And so, you ever got off that seat by looks? Get off my what? Okay, Jason, who are you talking to me? Okay, you guys, please tell me. Is this guy talking to me?
I don't know.
So here's the thing, bro. If you're talking to me, I mean, you're pretty brave typing it on your keyboard and put it in the chat. Tell me if you're talking to me, like for real. Yeah, see, he's a clown. That's what you are, dude. You're a clown. But anyway, so doing some more research, I actually found the actual article that was posted, or that was in the newspaper.
That's
and it
so
says
neat.
It says fight with big apes reported by miners. Fabled beasts are said to have bombarded the cabin. One of the animals, said to appear like a huge gorilla, was killed by the party. Kelso, Washington, July 12th. The strangest story, let me turn the slide up a little bit. The strangest story to come from the Cascade Mountains was brought to Kelso today by Marion Smith, his brother Roy, Fred Beck, Gabe Lefevre, and John Peterson, who encountered the fabled mountain devils, or mountain gorillas of Mount St. Helens this week, shooting one of them and being attacked throughout the night by rock bombardments of the beast. The men had been prospecting a claim on the Muddy, a branch of the Lewis River, about 8 miles from Spirit Lake. So it's right in there. 46 miles from Castle Rock. They declared that they saw 4 of the large animals, which were about 7 feet tall, weighed about 400 pounds, and walked erect. Smith and his companions declared that declared that they had seen the tracks of the animal several times in the last 6 years, and Indians have told of the mountain devils for 60 years, but none of the animals ever had been seen before. Smith met with one of the animals and fired at it with his revolver, he said. Thursday, Fred, it is said, shot one, the body falling over the cliff. That night, the animals bombarded the cabin where the men were stopped with showers of guys, this is an old article. Showers of rocks, many of them large ones, knocking chunks out of the log cabin, according to the prospectors. Many of the rocks fell through the holes in the roof, and two of the rocks struck Beck, one of them rendering him unconscious for nearly 2 hours. The animals were said to have the appearance of giant gorillas. They were covered with long black hair. Their ears were about 4 inches long and sticking straight up. They have 4 toes, short and stubby. The tracks are 13 to 14 inches long. These tracks have been seen by forest rangers, prospectors for years. Prospectors built a new cabin this year, and it is believed it is close to the cave thought to be occupied by these animals. Mr. Smith believes he knows the location of the cave. So you guys, that's the actual article. True as a bunch there. Let's see, I want to see what Edward says here. True as a bunch have been seen also. Yeah, I believe that they're still up there today. But man,
there goes Ray every
man.
time.
This dude's rocking and rolling.
Thank you, Ray.
Ray, thank you so much, man. Thank you. So here's the thing, you guys. This is awesome. So I actually found this article that I'm holding in my hand right now before I found the actual account from Smith and the brothers and everybody. And so what this is, this is a follow-up article. And what this article says, well, this one was printed on the 16th of July. Big hairy Indians back of ape tail. Mountain devil mystery grows deeper. Giant said to roam the hills. Shaggy creatures kill game by hypnotism. It is said. Ventriloquism is used. So what they're saying is that, yeah, David, Edward, I do agree. You know, they could have been maybe bigger, but you know, again, I wasn't even a thought in 1924. So, yeah. But so this is a kind of a longer article, but it goes into like a lot more detail about these creatures, what they believe they are, what the natives in the area call them. So this is by Jorg Totsky Callahan tribe. This is in Hoquiam, Washington. The big apes reported to have bombarded the shack of prospectors at Mount St. Helens are recognized by Northwestern Indians as none other than the Sihilic tribe of Indians. Sihilic is a Kalam pronunciation. Again, I'm sorry, guys, I'm butchering these names. All other tribes of the Northwest pronounce it Sihik, Sihilik. Northwestern Indians have long kept the history of this tribe a secret because the tribe is the skeleton in the Northwest Indians' closet. Another reason the Indians have never divulged the existence of this tribe is that the Northwestern Indians know the white man would not believe the stories regarding this tribe. These facts are collaborated by Henry Napoleon Callahan tribe, J. James Lumen, the Lumi tribe, and then George Heyman of the Quinault tribe. Game killers by hypnotism. So this is what they're talking about. Every Indian, especially of the Puget Sound tribes, is familiar with the history of these strange giant Indians, as they are sometimes referred by local Indians as Shaker Indians of Northwestern Oregon, who attend the Shakers Convention on the Snoqualmie Reservation on Hood's Canal last year. Related to the writer, their experiences with the Sihlik Indians. Oregon and Washington Indians agree that the Sihlik Indians are not less than 7 feet tall, and some have been seen that were fully 8 feet in height. They have hairy bodies like a bear. This is to protect them from the cold, as they live entirely in the mountains. They kill their game entirely by hypnotism. They have great supernatural powers. They also have the gift of ventriloquism and have discovered many ordinary Indians, or deceived many ordinary Indians by throwing their voices. So you guys, this is crazy. I mean, just the fact that that there are Native American tribes out there that know what these things are and they have a name for them.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's pretty much. So, let's open it up to the chat right now. Who has any questions or comments? It sounds like a complicated tribe. Yeah, it does.
No kidding.
Yeah. So who has any questions or comments or anything like that? Oh, and by the way, guys, that clown's comments. I live in my house, the one that we paid off.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm in the basement, but it's an office. And yeah, who cares? That clown. But anyway, any questions out there? Hey, Jason B. Miller, are you still in the chat? Because this is like kind of like your stomping grounds. This is in your area, not far away. Well, I would say it's kind of a few hours away from where you live. Do you have any insight on that area? Or does anybody else have any insight on that area? I think, let's see here. Who made a comment? Where is it? Was it Edward? I know Dave said something. Yeah, Edward. Edward, are you familiar with that area at all? Any tribes have seemed
That's
to
true.
disagree what these things are or how. And you're right. That is
Yep.
seriously that's so true, because you have some that look at them as big brothers. And then you have some, like I think it's the Iroquois, that that warred with them, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Seven, I understand that. Yeah, I don't know, it just kind of caught me off guard, but oh well. Let's see, I'll do something here. I'll go back up to his amazing things. I'll just go ahead and block him. So let's get him out of here. But anyway, anybody have any questions or any more input? How about you, Sabrina?
I think the only thing, and if somebody can verify this for me, if they've also heard the same thing, was after Mount St. Helens blew, supposedly, allegedly, they did find bodies of these beings, and they were saying that, the black SUVs pulled up, the bodies that were charred from the explosion, and they took them all the way.
Well, let me build on that for you because I've also heard that. But what I've also heard is that there were some people kind of doing cleanup,
Mhm.
and they said again these SUVs come pulling in, and this military truck comes pulling in, and these two guys two officers, and then two other guys came in, got out of the back of the truck as well. Man, Renee, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Renee.
But when they jump out, one of the guys in civilian clothes turns around and goes, "Hey, come on, come on." And out steps this massive male Bigfoot.
I've never heard that.
He literally steps out of this big deuce and a half. And
Wow.
there he's communicating with these two guys in civilian clothes, and he can sense ones that are wounded, like where they can't be helped. And so he starts calling out to them, and he's leading these two civilians, these military officers, and then a group of soldiers.
Mhm.
And he goes out and he calls out to them, and ones that are able to come out, he talks to them and says, "Go with them. They'll heal you. They'll make you feel better." And then ones that they found that were dying, they ended their suffering.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, I read that months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, Dan, I think I heard about that. Yeah, so yeah. And then Kristen, she said, "Oh, I heard about the helicopter one." Yeah, and that's also I was reading something from a colonel, because it wasn't your regular army. It was the Washington National Guard that came in
Gotcha.
and did this. And it was, I think, a colonel with the Washington National Guard that was talking about bringing out the bodies. And and it wasn't just one helicopter that came in, it was multiple helicopters. Oh, they like came in one at a time, and they loaded up as many as they could, and they carried them off. But some of the guys that were told to watch, stand guard over this area, one of them kind of got curious,
Mm.
and he said he noticed and he looked and he saw this pile that was covered in tarps or whatever. It was covered, and one of the helicopters coming in kicked up part of the covering, and he saw a massive, like, foot and leg
Wow.
that was charred underneath there. Yeah. So how many hid in
Man.
caves till it was over? Renee, I wish I had that answer for you. From what, if I can remember right, I want to say it was probably a half a dozen to a dozen that were hiding in caves. Or there were ones that were just devastated and were just severely, severely wounded. And they found them and put them out of their misery.
That's so
But
sad.
yeah. But if you think about it, see, and I don't know where you guys were at. I remember exactly where I was at when Mount St. Helens erupted. I was in Tacoma, Washington. What?
Krista.
Holy smokes, Krista. Thank you so much. Appreciate that so much.
Oh.
I was in Tacoma, Washington, and I was shook out of my bed. Didn't know what was going on. And so I got up, I come running upstairs, and I see a massive crack in the ceiling of our kitchen. It literally went from the back door all the way the entire length of the kitchen. And I ran out through the back, out into the street, and you could see this massive cloud. I couldn't see Mount St. Helens, but you could see the massive cloud, the ash cloud that was just
Man.
hundreds of feet up in the air. And I remember later on taking my uncle's like coal shovel, looks like a snow shovel,
Mhm.
and we were just scooping up just shovelfuls of ash and dumping it in like garbage cans. Yeah, it was crazy. I worked fires and said he came across several that were burnt up in a fire. The military took over. I don't know where it went.
Mm.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
Yep.
And again, if you guys have never been to Mount St. Helens, check it out. I've been to Mount St. Helens quite a few times, and it is how anything survived anywhere around that. Yeah, it's a mind blower to me. Sasquatch have said through a human contact that Mount Adams is going to blow. I would not be surprised.
Mhm.
That's like I think it's called like the Ring of Fire. It's got like Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Adams, I think Mount Hood. Yeah, it's crazy. And then it goes even out into the Pacific Ocean. I think parts of like Japan. It's such a giant network of volcanoes. They call it the Ring of Fire. It's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
So yeah, Jason used to live in Tacoma.
I've
Yeah.
never been. I got to get out there one day.
Well, I mean, you got some beautiful parts in Eastern Washington, but I'm partial towards Western Washington. So
Mm.
yeah, it is absolutely beautiful there. I just wish the cost of living wasn't so big.
I've heard.
And yeah, I don't get it, because it's like one part of the city is like running the entire or the state. It's like Seattle, because
Yeah.
you got all the tech there and everything like that. So, but
Man.
yeah. So anybody have any questions, comments, or anything regarding Ape Canyon, Northeast Washington? Whereabouts, Renee, in Northeast Washington?
Wow.
Any stories or anything that you might have heard or would like me to cover from
Yeah.
Washington State? Yeah, put them in the comments or send me an email at cryptidpodcast72@gmail.com, and I'll definitely look into those for you guys. So, all right, let's hear about this lizard man attack in South Kakalaki,
Yep.
and I actually have pictures.
Yeah.
Now, they're not actual pictures, but they look really close to the pictures that.
Mhm.
And the reason I'm not using the real pictures is because they're copyrighted. So I don't want to chance anything. So I have a couple of programs where I just put the picture in and said, hey, create me an image similar or as close to this as possible.
Yeah.
So
All
can't think of anything
right.
right now. You guys, if I am constantly looking for, I'm constantly looking for any encounters or anything like that from Fort Lewis, McCord Air Force Base. Um, oh my gosh, I can't. I'm a bad airman for real, because I can't remember the Air Force Base in Eastern Washington. Someone help me out. Renee, help me out. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. It'll come to me. I know it will. All right, so let's hear about this lizard man. Someone said, when I was young, my first nightmare were of lizard men.
Lizard men.
Well, I could see how that would definitely be terrifying. What, Wade? Thank you, man.
Oh, thank you,
Fairchild.
Wade.
There we go. Busted one getting in my trash. Whoa. Hold on. Before you start,
Mhm,
Renee,
mhm.
you busted what? What did you bust get into your trash? What's up there, Steamboat?
Hi, Steamboat.
Wyatt, what's up, buddy? Man, Wade, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that, man. I think it's because of Super Friends. Really? The SAR school. Yeah, I know it's out there in Fairchild. That's awesome. All right. Let's hear about the Lizard Man.
The Lizard Man. All right. You guys hold on to your seats. All right. So we have on June 29th, 1988, a 17-year-old named Christopher Davis reported a terrifying encounter while changing a flat tire near Scape or Swamp around 2 a.m. It was late past midnight on June 29th, 1988. Mr. Davis, a 17-year-old teenager, was driving home from his shift at a fast food restaurant near Bishopville, South Carolina, when his 76 Celica blew a flat tire. He pulled over to the side of the road, and to his left, just off the asphalt, lay Scape or Swamp, a low-lying wetland typical of South Carolina where the knobby knees and wide cypress trees emerge from swatches of low-growing bamboo and pools of slow-moving blackwater stained dark from the tannins. There was not a soul around, yet Christopher could not shake the feeling that someone or something was watching him. With nervous glances over both his shoulders, he removed his flat tire and replaced it. As he stood up and wiped off his hands, he saw an eerie shadow emerging from the swamp. The shape was tall and appeared to be standing upright, even though something about it did not look quite human. As Christopher squinted into the darkness, the shape moved slowly towards him, walking on two legs. 7 or so feet off the ground, two red eyes, bright as lasers, he quoted, pierced the night. Christopher threw his tools in the car and jumped behind the steering wheel, sweat now pooled along his brow as he gunned it out of there. Yet he was not moving fast enough. That's so scary. Behind him, the creature's enormous feet pounded the pavement, growing closer and closer. The creature lunged and latched on to the top of Christopher's car. As Christopher swerved back and forth across the empty road, the creature slid down the back of the car, its claws scraping metal and etching scratches into the fender and sides. Within minutes, the creature lost his grip and tumbled to the ground, disappearing into the blackness of the swamp. Christopher arrived home shaken. It took hours for his parents to console him, but for fear of being mocked, he would not report the incident to the police, not until another family member from Lee County reported strange marks on their car as well. When he finally submitted a testimony to the police, Christopher would present a crude and simplistic drawing alongside his words, which I think I sent you the drawing.
Yeah, I didn't.
Too close to the.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't grab that one. I should have.
That's okay. At the bottom of his drawing, Davis signed his name to designate the picture's authenticity. Let's see. From that moment, South Carolina's first original cryptid, a creature such as Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster, whose existence has never been proven, was born. The creature first spotted on that warm June night became the legendary Lizard Man. Let me see. I have so many. So Christopher ended up in the local papers. And soon reporters from as far away as Australia were calling to talk about the Lizard Man. Some of them cryptid enthusiasts who believed wholeheartedly in the Lizard Man, and others who wanted to laugh at the absurdity. So pretty much after this encounter, he had people from all over the world. Yep. So that is his original drawing that he gave the police for the sketch. People all over the world were wanting to talk to him. People flocked to this area. They wanted to see this creature for themselves. It just became this huge phenomena of, what is this thing that he's talking about? Let me see. A local radio station offered $1 million to anyone who could bring the creature back alive, and residents and tourists flocked to the swamp with guns. Even local sheriff Liston Truesdale threw himself into the scandal, taking Lizard Man as seriously as any potential Bishopville threat. Truesdale did many interviews, encouraged witnesses with Lizard Man stories to come forward, and when somebody reported strange, enormous, 3-fingered tracks in the sand that matched Christopher Davis's drawing, Truesdale personally drove out to the site and made casts that he planned to turn over to the FBI until he was dissuaded from doing so. Let's see. So then instead of giving the tracks to the FBI, Truesdale eventually donated the casts to the South Carolina Cotton Museum, where they sit in a small glass case near the front of the rambling one-story brick building. Along the cast are a few other lizard man artifacts from the 1980s, including many different documents. As the height of the frenzy and the assorted of colored t-shirts, everything you could think of, people started coming along with. Let me see. So he was actually due at the height of everything going on. He was rumored to be scheduled to go on the Oprah Winfrey show as well.
Really?
But apparently it was canceled and attempted to he completely wanted just, I guess, out of this. It was too much for him. Eventually he even moved out of Bishopville to the nearby larger city of Sumter, where he largely disappeared from the public eye until in his late 30s he was murdered.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
That is not cool.
I know.
Not cool. Someone is, I say they're giving you a compliment. So Shade Viking is saying that you look like the girl from Stranger Things.
I appreciate that. I have not watched that yet, but I appreciate that so much.
You've never watched Stranger Things?
I haven't. I live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's true. And he says the only reason he's bringing it up is because he watched Stranger Things 5 trailer. It starts November 26th. Hey, Shade, I cannot wait for Stranger Things. It's kind of nostalgic for me because the writers and the producers and the costume designers and things like set designers have got it spot on. It's like I'm living back in the 80s because it's I'm like, man, the music is right, the clothing is right. It just got a great feeling to it. So you guys want to see pictures of this guy's car, like legit. So this thing did a number on his car. It's a Dodge something. I don't know what it is. I bet you like a little smaller Dodge. Looks like a smaller Dodge car.
I think so.
Here. So this is like the grill. And then here's a close-up of part of the hood. And these were made by his claws.
Mm-hmm.
Man. This is the front of the car. And you said this thing jumped from the back of the car over the hood or the roof and then was just tearing up the front of his car.
Yeah.
And then here is another view of the front of the car. And then here's one of the wheel wells.
Yep. And what's crazy to me is they did the DNA testing from the vehicle and let me see where I can find this at. Let me see. They tried to say that it was allegedly likely caused by a domestic dog, although the local sheriff suggested it could have been a coyote or a wolf. And that just does not sit right with me. That's just, I don't know.
1988. So I'm not sure if this was like, maybe like I don't know. Again, I'm not really good on cars. I wonder if there's like maybe like a Dodge Avenger or something like that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Let's see here.
It might be. So I do have, those might be from that would make more sense. There was an attack in 2007. So that could be what those are actually from.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, do you have any info on that?
Right here. It's a short one. Let me see. Right here. So in 2007, reports resurfaced after in South Carolina by the Lizard Man, allegedly attacking more cars in Bishopville again in the same area. Bob and Dixie Rawson, so this is what it's from, reported their van being damaged in an attack.
All right.
Let me see.
I can definitely see that. That's crazy.
Cape Cod Times newspaper actually did a report on it. DNA testing, has shown an attack on a family van. Some blamed on the legendary lizard man appears to have actually been allegedly done by a domestic dog.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. But that
Yeah,
doesn't, there's no way that was a dog.
No. Well, now we got 2 stories of the lizard man attacking and then tearing that car up. So, it's just you think about how big that thing was,
That's what, and the holes, like if it was the actual claws latching on, the holes from, I work with dogs every day. I have 3 Newfoundlands. Like their nails would not create holes that deep. That's just not something
or
that's,
or that big around.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
A bear dog.
Man, bear, pig.
That's what I'm saying.
Dog my ass. That's what it says.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Jason, I took down that name. I'm gonna look into that, you guys. So, that was on Monster Quest. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
I'll have to go back and look at that as well. Maybe it was a domesticated lizard man. Yeah, imagine the grip to push the claw through steel, and also the front end damage of that hood. It looked like it was just ripping the hood up.
Yeah.
I mean, it just took chunks of this hood out. Yeah. And again, let me go back. Who asked about that being a newer car? Like, what year was it? Because that Good Eye, that's a good spot. Yeah, that was definitely a Good Eye. Because I don't want to sit and say, "Oh no, you're wrong." I have no problem saying, "Hey, yeah, it's this is probably a newer car." Do you have any stories of an Otterman attacking anyone? Because I do a lot of wade fishing, hence the name. I'm gonna be out. Okay, so where are you going to be? Are you going to be up in Alaska way doing this? Because there are many stories of Otterman attacking people. Now, my dad believes he had an encounter with the Kushtaka, or otherwise known as the Otterman, and he was simply going back to he was going out behind his house. He lived in Ketchikan, Alaska, and he was about 15 or 16. Now, my dad had been smoking since like he was 12 years old, and he didn't want his mom and dad my grandparents finding out. So he goes back to get some wood. Was legitimately going to go back and get wood. They had a few acres of forest and stuff behind their house that was theirs, and they had always cut down a certain number of trees every year, and then they leave it stacked out in the woods, and then they'll go and he'll bring like a wagon out there, and he'll fill it up, and he'll come back. He'll do that a few times to get wood, to stock up the wood near the house. And as he's walking out there, he's walking around down this pathway that leads to where they did this cut down these trees and to bring in some wood. And as he's walking, he was looking down at something. He looked up and he sees this man slowly walking towards him. And he's like, "What is this guy doing on our property? What's this guy doing?" And he was walking just very methodically. It wasn't rushed. He wasn't just kind of like taking his time. It was just a very, so these are mostly, the Kushtaka, aka Otterman, is solely Alaska. I've never heard of any of them being in the lower 48 at all. So he goes and he looks at this guy, and the guy walks up to him. Now, my dad was an amazing whistler. He could whistle a song and you'd know what song he was whistling. Like, that's how good he was. And so he was whistling as he was going along, and he sees this guy. My dad stops, and this guy walks right up to him, and he looks at my dad and he goes, "You got a cigarette?" And my dad, he said, I just reached into my pocket and I pulled out my pack of smokes, and I gave him a cigarette, and then I thought about it and I gave him a second cigarette, and the guy just smiled at him, kind of, and kind of nodded his head like that and just walked right past my dad. And my dad stopped there, and my dad turned around and was watching him walk away. And the guy stopped, and he looked back over his shoulder, and he tells my dad, you know, you shouldn't whistle in the woods.
Oh, get some goosebumps, dude.
And my dad goes, okay. So then my dad's watching this guy. He walks off, and then just abruptly he takes a left and goes off into the woods.
Mm.
And the woods were not dense. They were you could see pretty well through there. And he goes, I just watched this guy disappear. Now, the story that goes with the Kushtaka is that like they're mischievous. They're shape changers. No, Kushtaka is not a Skinwalker. Kushtaka is only known to turn into one animal, and it's a sea otter, not like the river otters. It's like, the cuddly ones that lay on their back and they lock arms so they don't float apart, and they put a rock on their stomach and they crack clams or whatever. Yeah, that. And if you guys go to, what? Sorry if I'm looking on my phone, but I'm going to find the podcast. It's Fred Roll from Alaska. And his podcast, he talks about Kushtaka on there. And I would absolutely love to get some people that he's interviewed to come on my show to tell some of their stories, because they're just absolutely amazing stories. And I wouldn't do anything to get them on, but I'm trying to find his podcast. You guys, it's amazing. Give him I've had him on. It's called Subarctic Sasquatch, or Subarctic Alaska Sasquatch. So he is definitely you definitely want to try to check him out. Yeah, Fred is definitely a wealth of knowledge. Yeah, absolutely, Renee, for sure. Shade, man, thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. Good Lord, man. Check it out.
Skull
Awesome.
Shade. Thank you.
Shade Viking.
Yep.
Bro, is that a Frankensteiner on your picture, your profile picture? Is that like an Eddie Van Halen guitar? Man, I'm telling you, see, I love Eddie Van Halen. I love him. I do. He's like my favorite. But anyway, Fred's Riverside Encounter. Yes, it absolutely is white. His the one where I think he's in with like his uncle and one of his cousins and another person in his family. If you ever get a chance, I'll just kind of give you a synopsis of it. He's going out, they're going out there hunting. And the Frankenstrat. Yep, dude, I love Eddie Van Halen. Oh, let me show you something. I'm geeking out.
Oh.
And there's another one where he has the black and white Frankenstrat. And I also would like to see, I'd like to get just like a replica each one of the guitars and hang them on my wall. It'd be awesome. But so his story, so his personal story, it's crazy, because this Sasquatch, the hairy man, as they call it up there, it like busted through his door and he shot at it. Like he shot it.
No way.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the Kushtaka story, I don't know if I told you this one. So the way he tells it is that there was this farmer, or not this farmer, but this guy who had a cabin like up on stilts, and he had like hit it 3 times at the door. Yeah, exactly, Renee. But he tells about this crabber who has these crab pots out, and he looks out from his cabin, and he sees this this otter, like this sea otter, out there by one of his crab pots. And he's like, man, what is that doing out there? And so he goes and he throws like a couple of rocks at it, and I don't think it hits it close, but enough to get its attention. So he's trying to scare it away. He doesn't want it to mess with the go down and rob his crab pots. So I guess like the next day he goes out and he looks again, and now he sees this otter, but this time this otter is massive. It's huge. It's one of the biggest sea otters that he's ever seen. So he goes and he throws some more rocks at it. And at this time, I guess it got a little too close. Well, it dove underwater, but then it popped back up closer to shore. And he said he saw this thing swimming, and as it's coming up out of the water, it's transforming. Like it's walking out of the water on two legs. And so he runs into his cabin. This thing attacks his cabin, knocks it kind of like off its foundation. And while the guy's in there, and then went back into the harbor or whatever. And yeah. But yeah, I'm going to try to get Fred on again. I've had him on before. And he tells that story a little bit. And if you guys want to know what episode that is episode, one second here. See, I wish I had remembered. Let's see here. It is episode. Okay, let's see here. Episode. It is episode. Come on now. What the heck? It's episode 10. Episode 10. So.
I can't imagine that. I don't even know what I would do.
Renee, 100% truth to that. 100% truth. Sasquatch have been or swim out to Vancouver Island. Yeah, they do. I've heard reports that people have seen them swimming, and also in Puget Sound as well. Also Puget Sound. So, and when I'm talking Puget Sound, I'm talking like out around Tacoma, like out to Anderson Island, Vashon Island. There were reports that a boater saw what he thought was like a large, like a bear or like a large dog swimming in the sound. And so he starts taking his boat up to get close to it. And he realized it wasn't a bear and it wasn't a large dog, that it was actually what we think it was. And he's like, nope, I'm not playing with that. And it was swimming over to Vashon Island. So let's hear your Bigfoot encounter.
Oh, yeah. So let me see. So this is a short one. But it is... Sorry, guys. The Wild Man of Navidad. So it is one of the oldest recorded cryptid legends in American history. It is an eerie tale that predates even the modern Bigfoot phenomenon. It is a rich blend of folklore, early settler fear, and unexplained phenomena in the Texas frontier. Back to the early 1800s, the wide empty plains of Texas, where something was stalking the settlers along the Navidad River. It wasn't a bear, it wasn't a bandit, and it wasn't a man, not really. It was known only as the Wild Man, a phantom figure, shaggy and silent, who stole food, left massive tracks, and seemed to vanish in the woods like a shadow. The first known report dates back to 1837, and they come from the diary of Reverend Samuel C.A. Rogers, one of the earliest settlers in the area. He and his neighbors began noticing something strange happening near the river. Food stored in cabins or smokehouses would go missing overnight. Cornmeal, smoked meat, sugar, flour, but with no sign of forced entry. They chalked it up to animals until they found the footprints. Large, human-like, always barefoot. The toes were spread wide, and the gait suggested a creature with an enormous stride, far too large for any man they knew and far too consistent to be faked. That is where the reports began. One settler, William Doty, described how the creature would creep into camps and leave small objects behind, bits of metal, braided grass, a tooth from an unknown animal, as if it were trading. Doty told neighbors he once left out food intentionally and found a stack of smooth river stones in its place the next morning. In 1845, a farmer named Harold, no first name recorded, reportedly spotted the wild man directly. He was roused by dogs growling late at night and stepped outside with a lantern. He claimed he saw a figure about 8 feet tall, covered in dark hair, standing at the edge of his property. The eyes, he said, reflected the light like an animal's, but were deep set and intelligent. He raised his shotgun, but the creature turned and ran into the trees on 2 legs, and it ran fast, too fast, he reported. Harold packed up his family the next day and left his land behind and never returned. Despite dozens of stories, no one has ever been able to capture or track the wild man until 1851, when a group of settlers, led by a man named Captain Christopher Columbus Rogers, claimed success. They said they trapped the creature using food for bait and a net, but what they caught, according to the story, was not a monster, it was a man. A formerly enslaved man living alone in the wilderness for perhaps a decade or more. He was described as nonverbal, unkempt, and deeply withdrawn, as though he had forgotten human behavior. They had sent him off where the reports had, under the local sheriff, the reports had come to an end. Case closed, not exactly. Because even after the man was taken into custody, the wild man sightings continued. The footprints returned, the food thefts resumed. In one instance, a farmer said he found an entire pig carcass stolen from his smokehouse and left behind a small pile of woven reeds. The creature was never definitively seen again. Today, locals still talk about the legend, and every few years, someone claims to see a shadow in the wood, hear a branch snap when nothing's there, or find a track where no track should be. There is actually even a horror film now based on this encounter from 2008 called The Wild Man of Navidad.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It blows my mind how just like all these encounters and the reports come from, so far back. People didn't have internet or, any of this stuff. They just reported what they saw, what happened, and that's it. Cut clean, dry. It's just so neat to me.
Yeah. I know you guys saw me get up. I've got a bunch of books, you guys, just different Bigfoot books and stuff. And I just wanted to kind of bring you guys maybe a couple stories from some of these. This one is from a book called I Know What I Saw by Linda Godfrey, of all people. Anybody who knows who Linda Godfrey is, she's pretty big in the in this community. So
Very true, Kristen.
Anyone named Christopher Columbus is known to claim a lot of things. 100% truth.
Yeah.
So this one is called the Iowa Sprinter. The brash, speedy movement of the creature that bolted from the kettle in my cornfield siding and whizzed past my neighbor in his yard may sound unlikely for those unfamiliar with Bigfoot lore, but are actually common observations in sightings of Sasquatch. Bigfoot seems to be able to intuitively or intelligently calculate the risk involved in showing itself as it gets from point A to point B. A good example may be found in this 1974 account sent to me on Facebook in 2014 by an Iowa man. I'll just call him by his first name, Jack. He said he had seen something Bigfoot-like in the late summer of 1974, about 6 miles north of Mediapolis, Iowa, while on his way home from work, riding motorcycle with a friend. He writes, "On my way home, I was going down a dirt road close to my house. The road is flat, then becomes hilly. As I crossed a creek and came up over the first hill, I saw something dark, huge, and unbelievably fast. It ran down a 15-foot embankment across the dirt road and jumped the fence in what seemed to be like 5 strides.
That's crazy.
The witness slammed on his motorcycle to a halt, turned it off, and pursued the creature on foot.
That's sure.
He lost sight of it, but could still hear it crashing through the woods. It sounded like a bull elephant. He said after chasing the creature for about 40 yards, his skin became sweaty and tingly, and his instinct told him to stop right where he was. Terror stricken, he turned around and ran as fast as he could, hopped back on his motorcycle, and tore off for home, where he kept completely mum of his experience. He didn't have far to go, as the sighting area was directly across the road from his parents' house. That was the last time he entered those woods, he said, and toted a gun everywhere he went, whenever he went out on other forested properties in the area. He added that he still ponders the experience daily, and he was never been so terrified of anything before or since then. He has continued to keep his incident mostly to himself, he said, for fear of being called a liar or worse. Jack added in response to my questioning that the creature ran so fast it couldn't give me a fair estimate of the size or the weight. It was big, he said. What scared the crap out of me was when I heard it running through the woods. It had to be massive. Wow.
That's terrifying.
Wow.
To chase it though, that's
I'll tell you right now, that's yeah.
no
Dude,
thanks.
someone said dude's got balls. And
For sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
either that or he's just young and dumb, because I'm gonna tell you right now, there's no way that I would
Ever.
No. Absolutely not. Must have been a big dude. If he chased it, then he came to his senses and bolted. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Here's one called Nebraska Nemesis. It's striking how many sightings of these large dog, but not dog creatures occur along roadways. This Nebraska sighting incorporates an extra feature. What appears to be interference with the automobile's electrical system. The driver wrote to me in September of 2014 about the incident that occurred about 25 miles west of Omaha. I was reading American Monsters and I thought you might be interested in my weird encounter in late summer or early fall of 1996. I was driving home from work, second shift, at a food plant in Columbus, Nebraska. It was about 12:30 or 1 a.m. I was driving a Buick Skylark wagon, a very reliable car that gave me zero problems until my wife of the time hit a tree 2 years after this event. As I began to drive up and out of the Platte River Valley, or Platte River Valley, sorry guys, 5 miles north of my hometown of David City, the car shut off as I was doing at least 60 miles per hour. My response was the normal, what the F utterance, and when the engine, when the engine and the headlights, which had also shut off when the engine quit, came back on, and I was startled to see a huge dog-like animal running in front of me. Looking back over its right shoulders, tongue hanging from its huge mouth, I hit the brakes and looked at the speedometer because I was expecting to hit this horse-sized dog, but it was staying 55 or 60 feet ahead of me, lopping along at 45 miles per hour by my speedometer.
Man.
It was russet in color, had pointy upright ears like a shepherd, and dark fur at the massive bushy tail tip. As I coasted behind it, it pulled away, looking over its left shoulder, and veered into the oncoming side of the road. At the time, my headlights went out again. much like a switch was thrown, coming back on a few seconds later, accompanied by my car's engine restarting and immediately racing since. Uh, I, in my freaked out state of mind, had the pedal pushed to the firewall. The horse-sized dog was nowhere to be seen, and since only open pastures lined the road, I would have expected to still be visible. I made the last 5 miles home in record time. I did not sleep well that night. I have never seen anything like this before or since. One more thing. During the minute-long encounter, I had the strangest feeling it was looking at me, not just not just at a car behind it, but when I mentioned earlier, I was freaking out, and it was because I thought the car had suddenly crapped out on me in the middle of nowhere. I felt no fear while watching this huge animal lopping along in front of me. I was unsettled afterwards, but never felt threatened during or after the encounter. What?
Um, Thank you,
What?
Jason.
He was pacing this animal at 45 miles an hour. Yeah, Kristen, I agree. I think it was a dog, man.
Mm-hmm.
But he was pacing at 45 miles an hour, and then it just pulled away from him. And then the lights went out, the engine shut off, and then a couple seconds later, everything pops back on. That's crazy. And you guys, I'm just kind of going through this book and pulling out certain little things here. Here's one. Uncanny in Kansas. The person writes, sent Linda a email in 2015. Hi, Linda. I talked to you on Art Bell's show for a minute. I'd like to share my story with you for your research as long as I can remain anonymous because the Skinwalker legend really freaks me out.
Mm-hmm.
I saw something I can't explain 10 years ago in 2005 in northwestern Kansas. I thought you might be interested just because I don't think the area is usually associated with this kind of activity. I was driving about 70 miles an hour on I-70 after dark near Ellis, Kansas, and something very large ran in front of my car. It was running very fast, a full-on gallop really, maybe about 40 miles per hour, and passed right in front of me, so I got a very good look at it. It was simply too big to be even a huge dog, something like 8 feet long, and it was grayish white and had thin fur on its body. I didn't see its feet, but the overall impression was that it had dog or wolf paws. There was no sound. There was no sound like I've heard other described, but the face was more flat and did not look right. I looked at it looked like an exposed skull, no fur, and I could see a lot of giant teeth but no eyes. It reminded me of something out of H.R. Ginger's art. Um, the way that it ran did not seem bipedal like a running human, but it ran like a big, powerful animal and was covering large amounts of ground with each stride. It was it was the most uncanny thing I had ever seen, and I did not even consider stopping or turning around for another look, even though I'm usually the brave and curious sort. I was all alone in basically the middle of nowhere, which with no other cars anywhere, and I did not want to find out and tempt fate. I feel I may have seen a skinwalker. It definitely felt like a bad omen. The only rational explanation I can possibly think of is it could have been an Irish wolfhound bigger than anything I have ever seen. This thing, let's see, this had been, let's see, okay, hold on a second here. I have ever seen that had been hit by a car, but the speed it was moving just seemed impossible for a dog, let alone an injured one. I have heard about skinwalkers from family members who have very unique connections to the Navajo. So I definitely believe in the power of Navajo beliefs. One interesting tidbit you may already know is he told me the reason Native Americans are so reluctant to speak about skinwalkers is they believe if you bring the subject up, you may be on you may be one of them. Seriously.
Yep.
No eyes.
That would freak me out. That would freak me out.
No. Again, you're seeing a 40 mile an hour speed mentioned.
Yep.
That is.
I don't even know what I would do.
I just turned to the page and I found one here. It's called the short squatch.
Oh.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, yeah, my hometown is mentioned in this as well. So here, we're going to read this one.
A little personal.
We're going to read this one. Short squatch, a trait that can make identification of small hairy creatures even more difficult is that some apparently have wings, making them resemble humanoid oversized bats. If possible, that some of these sightings actually are just misidentified large bats. Jason, they're going to be talking about our hometown here. But consider this May 7th, 2000 incident in Santa Elena, Chile. In his book cited above, Rosales recounts the unsettling experience of 33-year-old G. Alejandro Canelles. Roels says that Canelles was walking home late one night after tending the rabbit pens, which he kept at another location, when he discovered something lurking in the darkness that seemed more interested in him than his rabbits. As the man made his way through the unlighted alley shortcut, he felt something big flutter onto his back.
No.
He screamed and tried to shake off the unseen assailant as he grabbed for his flashlight. What the flashlight revealed was unimaginably frightening. A pair of shiny golden eyes accentuated a mouth brimming with white fangs, and its furry hominid body clung to the man's back with the aid of bat-like wings. It emitted a foul stench. When the flashlight beam hit it in its face, the creature suddenly released its grip and flapped away into the night. This hairy-winged humanoid sounds like a pint-sized version of the Batquatch, a flying wolf-like beast of Tacoma, Washington, and countless other winged humanoid creatures reported by eyewitnesses around the United States, from West Virginia's Mothman to the Jersey Devil of the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. It's hard to say the small size of the Chilean creature means it was a juvenile, a subspecies of Batquatch, or something entirely different. Listen.
Nope.
Let me reread this one part. As the man walked through an unlighted alleyway shortcut, he felt something big flutter onto his back. What?
I would have died. I would have had a heart attack right there, and I would have
Uh,
died. I would have died.
as Renee said earlier, I'd have pissed myself.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. No.
No.
Now, Steamboat said something that reminded me of a story, and I don't know if I have anybody in here from Kentucky. I don't know if you've ever heard of Anthony's story from Kentucky. It's kind of like a well-known about the.
That's what's called Anthony's story.
No, that's his name, but it's about like a little old lady in Kentucky, and she was taking care of the Bigfoots in her house.
Yeah, I heard that on Sasquatch Chronicles.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That
and it
one's
wasn't
crazy.
for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Like raising generations. That's nuts.
Who wants to hear something about Goatman? Anybody? I see. I heard
Me.
a story similar to
Me.
this one by a man and a son. A winged creature ran across their roof and seen up in their tree. Someone like Monster Quest or History Channel cover that story. Yeah, for sure. You guys, these are some crazy stuff out there for real. Whether you believe them or you don't. Like the flying monkeys on Dave, I'm gonna tell you right now, that is one movie that I can't stand. I cannot stand it. I can't stand what is it? Sound of Music. Nope.
Yeah.
What are you
Michael,
laughing
you're
at?
right. Michael's comment.
Dude, Buck Wild, that was a killer story. The neighbor was looking at the juvenile's boobs.
That is true. Yep.
Yeah.
That was a crazy story.
Yeah. I would love to find someone to tell that story that has like firsthand knowledge of that story.
I know.
So yeah, and then Steamboat said he believes he saw a pterodactyl a month or so ago fly over his house.
No, thank you
No.
for that either.
Nope. See, Ashes, how do I make people admin? Like, because I'm actually live, you guys, on StreamYard, and it feeds over to YouTube. So I'll see if I can find out how to get some admin, and I'll probably put some people on here that are here all the time as admin, because yeah, I'm not gonna have any clowns in here. So Goatman of Valley of Fires. Sometimes even witnesses who get a good look at an unknown animal are confused over what the basic species might be. I have found this to be especially true of eyewitnesses who figure they must be looking at upright goats or deers, probably because both animals have hock joints farther up in their legs than do humans, giving them an appearance of a knee bent backwards. Many times, the witnesses will change their minds and decide that based on other features such as upright ears or claws, they probably saw an upright dog or wolf. Ambiguity. You know what, you guys? Here we go. Here's that Tennessee education. It's I only know $8 words. This is like a $15 word. Let's see. As you noted earlier, is always in play in even the clearest of these sightings. Consider this second New Mexico tale that begs the question: when is a goat man possibly not a goat man? Originally posted on the Phantoms and Monsters website in 2011 on a page titled Freaky Confrontations, it tells of two siblings ages 16 and 24 who were driving near um, Carrizo, New Mexico. I'm probably mispronouncing that, near the area known as Valley of Fires. Briefly, the elder sibling, gender unknown, was driving as they came around the bend on the uncrowded highway to see a mysterious upright figure on the road to their left. It was 4 in the afternoon, so they were able to see it clearly, and it was proceeding at a normal pace as if oblivious to having been spotted. The writer describes it as a grayish salt and pepper salt and pepper fur covered, very tall, very muscular man with a characteristic dog leg, same bends. We screamed, I swerved, and we both thought instantly that we had seen a goat man. Although there were no horns, some goats don't have horns, so we didn't seem to be swayed by that detail. Oddly, this goat man wore some type of clothing over its fur, including a pair of denim loose-fitting shorts. The writer added, Goatman simply makes no sense anymore. New Mexico is infamous for its Goatman stories, though, so we assume they are based on the idea planted by local history. Okay.
Mm-mm.
I don't get it when they say, okay, it was wearing pants or it was wearing shorts or it was, you know.
What?
Hey Ashes, thanks for stopping by, buddy. I appreciate it, man. Oh, you guys check out his podcast, The Boom Boom Room, on YouTube. He does a lot of gaming and things like that as well. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna Google Goatman because that's one thing I haven't really covered is Goatman. I'd like to hear more about that. We did what?
I hate the backwards knee thing. That freaks me out because I think of the movie Signs when that thing like walks in front of the
Listen.
children's party and it's all backwards and bent. No.
Now I gotta watch that movie. I just declared I was not gonna ever watch that movie again. So
That's so good though. Come on.
no. Oh, I was gonna try to pick this one, but it's a long one. It's like 6 pages long.
Dang.
Red Hill. How about this one? That's not this long. Red Hill Werewolf of Hagerstown.
All right.
This is in Maryland. So there are many other precedents for such connections between historical events and the appearance of strange animals. One example that occurred in the early 1980s was sent to me a few years ago by a resident of Hagerstown, Maryland, and he writes, Growing up, my father always told me stories of the werewolf of Red Hill. Now I've got to look this up too. My dad and his friends, since I was a small child, have sworn they used to see what looked like a werewolf on this mountain that they called the Red Hill because of the red clay. They have a story that they went looking for it in the daylight and they came across some caves and they got a rope and a flashlight and a gun and they decided to go in and explore the caves. Inside, they found all kinds of native drawings, and in some areas, you had to squeeze through narrow passages and climb up ledges. This is where things got spooky. As the men continued climbing the ledges, something unknown shot out of the rock crevasses and grabbed my uncle's wrist.
Mm-mm.
He managed to break free, and the pair hastily left the caves. The writer adds, My dad and his friends aren't the type to lie about things like this. They have a good many incidents that occurred with this thing. This area is very historical, and a lot of battles have taken place. So there's a lot of supernatural happenings around town. I checked around and could not find any specific reference to the Red Hill werewolf, so it may have been a localized legend that would require some on-site deep digging and interviews to document properly. I did, however, cross where in an old graveyard known as the Red Hill Cemetery near the site of the church on Red Hill Road. Again, we find here the cemetery werewolf combination although I must admit that the country cemeteries are not rare, and the older ones are not maintained. They make a fine hiding place for all types of wildlife. The connection in Maryland legends between historic battles, hidden Native American rock art, old cemeteries, and the Red Hill werewolf makes me wonder again about the true nature of the wolf-like creature Brad saw in Michigan. In both cases, the creature appears to be flesh, fur, and blood, but many Native American sources believe certain animals may have a dual nature. The concept of spiritual guardians keeping watch over burials is common in Native American beliefs and goes beyond the idea of the avenging spirit animal, as was the case with the witchy wolf discussed earlier. Other benefits include spirit entities that can travel between worlds to appear completely solid and physical, completely spectral, or something in between. These would be different from the shapeshifters said to use ritual magic to go from human to animal, as described above. If true, and of course, there is no way to prove the ability to hop between worlds with our present science, it would provide another explanation as to how the creatures seem to travel through the trees, and also the non canine appearance of long arms and hands. So, I have actually heard accounts where people said they've witnessed Sasquatch go up to a tree and then disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
I'm just reading all the comments. We got some good stuff in here, like for real. All Goatman stories I hear are mainly from bridges, no clothes, and have horns. Yeah, I had a guy on. His thing is already posted. His episode's already posted. Um, it's titled "Was That a Skinwalker?" And he said they were walking out on this bridge. If you guys haven't seen that episode, it's probably a few a few episodes ago. He said he heard something. They looked down. They saw, "Hey, what's up, Scott?" Um, and when they looked, this thing was like walking out onto the bridge. And he said it looked like it had a bison skull.
Oh.
Yeah. And he showed me a picture. He goes, "I found this. This my grandmother gave me this, and this is like some of the folklore from her tribe." So, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. So that's, I mean, anybody want to hear more, or you want me to shut up? I mean, I got plenty of stuff. So, monsters of the Midwest, we got some stuff
Yep.
there. I've actually got some stuff marked on here. So let's see here. They can be any critter that they want. Skinwalkers, I believe that.
Yep.
So, how are y'all both? We all's day. Hey, our day's going more. I can't speak for Sabrina. My day's going pretty good. So
My day is good. Thank you so much.
So, what did you say? Figueroa says Steamboat is the only person who scared the life out of Dogman because the mask that he wears, Dogman.
Poor Steamboat.
He's just getting it. He's just getting it. Let's see here. So these are monsters of the Midwest. This is one that I just came across, and I can't believe it's in this book. But the melon heads. Have you guys heard about the melon heads?
No.
Where do you know where Kirkland, Ohio is?
I hold on. I'm gonna check that. I think it's like 3 hours, 4 hours from me. Let me
Yeah,
see.
well, you got some melon heads there.
Never.
They can remote view using other things' eyes, even people's eyes. Renee, what are you talking about? Skinwalkers, they can remote view. Jason knows about the melon heads.
4 hours from me.
You don't need to go 4 hours that way. So in Kirkland, Ohio, in the mid-70s, it was well after midnight when Richard and his buddy Bobby decided to take their girlfriends out to, is it Wisner Road?
Mhm.
Rumors of the Melonhead children had enticed them out this way before, but had left them with nothing more than a few goosebumps caused by open windows on a chilly night. They didn't expect to see anything. I'm sorry, Melonheads, it's funny.
Yeah.
They didn't expect to see anything, but it was something to do. And the girls seemed excited to check out a creepy local legend. As the sound of the tires rolled over pavement, switching to the grumble crunches of gravel, Richard found an open spot on the side of the road to pull off. They say Dr. Crow kept orphan kids out here and performed awful experiments on them, he said. I heard they were children with giant heads, said Bobby's girlfriend, Gail. Uh, were they born with giant heads? Jeannie, Richard's girlfriend, asked. Or did Dr. Crow make them that way? Oh, you guys, these are like campfire scary stories. Richard replied, I don't know, but I don't know whether they came with giant heads or not. They sure had them when he was done with them. I heard the kids eventually went crazy and killed Dr. Crow, Bobby added. I can't blame them, Gail said. Bobby rolled down the window and gazed across the wooded area. The trees had lost their leaves as it was autumn time, and a full moon lit up the open pockets between the thin, reaching branches of the trees. Who even knows if they're true? Jeannie said. Well, lots of people have seen these things all over this area over the years, Bobby said. How could there be so many sightings if they're not out there? My older brother knew some guys who saw one watching them from the side of the road. They followed it into the woods, Gail said. The thing led them to a house where a couple was sitting on the porch, and the man told them he had better he had been a nuclear scientist during World War II. As a result of his work, his children were born with deformed, bulbous heads. The government paid them off to live quietly away from people, but they could never tell anyone about their children. Well, if you ask me, it's just an urban legend, Jeannie rolled her eyes. As the four sat quietly for a moment, watching the trees around them, a light wind tossed leaves across the ground, causing them to crunch lightly as they hit tree trunks and underbrush. The girls snuggled against the boys to warm up as the cold breeze blew through the open windows. A creepy story plus chilly air. The boys had been down this road literally a time or two before with other girls, well, those dogs, and the combination seemed to work every time. What's that? Bobby asked in a voice hardly above a whisper as he pointed to the trees. The others followed his gesture. Oh my gosh, Jeannie gasped. It's it's one of them. It's a melon head. Gail leaned forward, peering at the creature. It stood about 4 feet tall behind a tree. Its limbs were unclothed and thin, almost skeletal. Its oversized, hairless head glowed in the moonlight, making it seem even larger and more awkward. It walked towards a small creek and bent down, scooping water into its cupped hand. It took a long drink. Jeannie grabbed Robert's arm. Get us out of here right now. What if it sees us? The creature turned its large head and looked right at them. Oh my gosh! It knows we're here, she shrieked. Gail joined Jeannie's panic plea. What if it attacks us? Bobby reached over with a trembling hand, pulled up the window. Robert was so stunned by what he was looking at that he hardly heard his girlfriend's desperate cries. It wasn't until he felt Jeannie's hand shake his arm that he could comprehend what they were saying. He shifted into drive and whipped the car back into the direction they'd come from. The girls' voices bordered on hysteria as they begged him to hurry. "Holy cow, man!" Bobby yelled. "We saw one! We actually saw one!" Robert shook his head in disbelief as they got further away from the frightening small being. He didn't want to believe it, but it was too creepy. He couldn't deny what he had seen.
Bravo.
Bum, bum, bum!
Bravo. Bravo.
You guys like that? You guys, I've heard about the melon heads before. Honestly, I have. And I'm reading the story. It's a story. It's one of those urban legends, I think.
Now, when
And
you
was
said
it-
melon head, I was like, that sounds so funny, you know, being in my state, but I Googled like an example photo and that's actually terrifying.
Is it really?
I mean, it literally is. They're like real pale skin, like real big, bulbous. Like if I saw that and it was like 4 foot tall, creeping around in the woods, I think I would be gone. I would be out of there so fast.
All right. Do you guys want one more? Or am I boring you guys?
One more.
One more?
more. Yeah.
All right. I could do more than one more if you want the melon heads. This
Give
one
me
isn't that long.
Give me nightmares.
How about we do the Enfield horror? Did it drink Windex or was that Coneheads? Ba, ba, ba. Hey, what's up there, Robbo? Melonheads are true. How tall are they? They said from the description on here, they said they were about 4 feet tall.
No, thank you.
So, and Robbo 1776, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining the live. Appreciate it. So this is at Enfield, Illinois, April 25th, 1973.
Oh.
The night was clear and unseasonably warm for April in Illinois. Miss Garnett smiled as her young son Greg ran by outside, probably on another imaginary adventure. "Shouldn't he be in bed by now?" Mr. Garrett asked heartily, taking his eyes from the television. "I'll call him in during the next commercial. It's such a nice night." Mr. Garrett shrugged and returned to his full attention to the program. Only a few minutes had passed before the screen door swung open and slammed shut with a bang that pulled Mr. Garrett's attention from the television. "Greg," said Mr. Garrett, his voice tight with irritation, "you can't come in here slamming doors." He turned to his son, intending to scold him, but the look on Greg's face turned his irritation into concern. "What's the matter?" he asked, his tone softening a bit. It, Greg stammered. "Are you okay?" Mrs. Garrett asked, rushing to her son. There's a thing. It had claws and huge eyes. It grabbed at me." Greg's teeth began to chatter. Mr. Garrett strode quickly to the door and peered into the darkness. "I don't see anything." It ran away," said Greg, pointing. He buried his head in his hands. "Let's get you to bed," said his mom. She glanced at her husband with a shrug. It wasn't like Greg to make up stories. She ruffled her son's hair and bent down to help him with his shoes. "What happened to your sneakers?" she shrieked. "They were torn, shredding across the top." "It stepped on my feet," Greg wailed. "Look," Mrs. Garrett said to her husband, her voice in a panicked whisper. She held up one of Greg's shoes. Mr. Garrett took what was left of the sneaker. "I'm calling the police." In the background, their movie broke to a commercial. A voice sang a catchy jingle. guys, I'm sorry, I don't know a catchy jingle. So I would have sang one, but sorry, I don't know one. Lil 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 McDaniel cheerfully sang along with the fun commercial. When do mom and dad get home? Asked her brother, Henry, coming in from the kitchen. Not sure, she said. She flipped off the television, shocking the room into silence. Probably any minute, which means we should get ready for bed. I can't believe we wasted a whole night watching that stupid show. I should have gone to Greg's house. You know, you can't leave the house when mom and dad are gone. Quit complaining. Just hurry up and get to bed before they get home. Why are you bossing me around? I'm almost a teenager, Henry said. You're only a year older than me, Lil replied. A bang from the bedroom startled them both. What was that? Asked Lil. I don't know, said Henry. He went down the hall to peer into the dark room. Turn on the lights, Lil begged him. He felt along the wall until his hand found the switch. The light revealed the mess that their mother had made earlier that evening trying to find the right outfit to wear to the PTA meeting. But there was nothing in the room that could have counted for the noise they had just heard. A soft scratching sound came from the window. Do you hear that? Asked Lil. Yeah, it sounds like something scratching on the AC. It's probably just a cat or a squirrel, Henry reasoned as he neared the window that held the air conditioning unit. Can you see anything? Asked Lil. Turn out the light, he instructed. He lifted the corner of the curtain to peek outside. Lil hurried to her brother's side and stood on her tiptoes. With her hands so close to the AC unit, the scratching sound rattled in her ears. The scratching stopped. A creature's face appeared on the other side of the glass, peering back at them. That's not a cat. She ran from the window. It's got big pink eyes. It's trying to get in, Henry shouted. Quick! The other windows, close them. Lil raced to her bedroom and slammed her window with a bang that seemed to shake the walls around her. Lock the front door, she shouted. Henry ran down the hall. Lil rushed to Henry's room, tripping on the baseball bat that was in the middle of the room. She clambered towards the window, reaching it at the same time as the creature. Shrieking, she slammed the window shut as the monster's talon-like claws reached up. The beast sliced through the screen and tapped at the glass. Lil stared, her eyes fixed on the monster. Its hiss was loud enough to hear through the closed windows. Call mom and dad, she yells as she ran into the kitchen. Henry was already on the phone, looking for the number that his mother had scribbled onto the notebook. The handset trembled in his hands as he twisted the first number into the rotary. The second it took to spin, the number seemed to take minutes. As he pointed his shaky finger clumsily into the next number, the knob on the front door began to shake. That was followed by a loud pounding. Lil and Henry looked at each other in horror. It's trying to get in, Lil screamed hysterically. Open this door, shouted their father. It's mom and dad, said Henry, dropping the handset onto the floor, running to let them in. We have to let them in, quick, before it gets them. Tears blurred Lil's eyes as her fingers fumbled with the lock. Henry shoved her out of the way and did it himself. The door flew open and their father stormed in with their mother right behind. Both had scowls on their face. Hurry, said Lil. Get in fast. She pulled her mother by the hand, and Henry shut the door and locked it again. Tell me why the front door was locked, Mr. McDaniel demanded. What's wrong, Lillian? Mrs. McDaniel asked at the very same time. There's something out there. Something that's trying to get in, said Lil. Miss McDaniel turned her scowl towards her husband. I told you not to let them watch that movie last week. But it's real, Henry said. We both saw it. Something is out there trying to get into the house. You're lucky you got in here alive. It has sharp claws, and it hissed at me, Lil whispered with a shiver. There's nothing out there, said their father. The words were barely out of his mouth when the scratching came from the front door. What the? Mr. McDaniel reached for the knob. No! Shouted Lil and Henry together. It's probably just a cat, their father said, ignoring their pleas as he pulled the door open. Standing before him was a creature like nothing he'd ever seen before. Its claws hands reached towards him as it hissed. I'm getting goosebumps. Holy crap. He slammed the door shut, secured the lock before running towards his bedroom. Lil and Henry stood there, rooting in horror beside their mother, whose body trembled as she wrapped her arms protectively around their shoulders, never taking her eyes off the door. Their father returned with a pistol in one hand and a flashlight in the other. Henry, hold this light for me, he said, extending the flashlight to his son. Henry took it, flipped it on, and held it over his dad's shoulder as he stood terrified behind his dad. Mr. McDaniel steadied the gun in his hands and pulled open the door. The creature stood about 12 feet from the porch. It turned and looked back at them. Its gray skin seemed to glow in the dim moonlight. Its wide pink eyes were bright as the beam of the flashlight. The creature jumped towards with a hiss. Its little arms outreached and taloned claws scratched at the air. Henry recoiled at the full sight of this creature moving towards him, strangely on 3 legs. Henry's father aimed the pistol and fired. Bang! The creature jumped back with a howl. It leaned forward on its 3rd leg and hissed. Henry fired again. Bang! The monster turned and ran an awkward, loping, hopping run as 2 more shots rang out. The beast disappeared in the darkness. Mr. McDaniel slammed the door shut and turned to his wife. Call the police, he said, his voice unsteady. Tell me again what the caller said, State Trooper James Massier asked his partner. His partner laughed loudly. You heard it right. Jimmy, a 3-legged creature with glowing pink eyes, tried to get into their house. We always get the fun ones, Jim said, with a shrug as he pulled into the driveway. Gravel crunched underneath the car as it made its way towards the house. You see anything glowing? Asked his partner. Jim shook his head and laughed as they got out of the car. He adjusted his belt and put his hand on his firearm. He wasn't afraid of any monsters lurking in the shadows, but he had learned that in odd calls like this, the caller was probably the one in fear. Together, the troopers climbed onto the steps of the front porch. His partner tapped on the door. Mr. McDaniel, he shouted, we're here to talk to you about what you saw. The door opened and Mr. McDaniel peered nervously over the men's shoulder, a look of genuine concern on his face. Come in. We don't want to talk out there. His voice dropped to a whisper, in case it comes back. The officer stepped inside. Mr. McDaniel gestured towards the tidy kitchen. A pistol and flashlight on the table were the only things that seemed out of place. Come in, officer, she said. Can I get you some coffee? No thanks, ma'am, Jim said, taking a small notebook out of his pocket. Do you mind if we ask a few questions? Mr. McDaniel sat in his chair beside his wife in the living room off to the kitchen. Lil and Henry sat on the couch, frozen in place, watching the officers intently. Mr. McDaniel, why don't you tell us what happened? Jim said, still standing. At the invitation of Mr. McDaniel's words, his words rushed out. We came home from a meeting. The door was locked. We never locked the door. When the kids let us in, they said a monster was trying to get into the house. I didn't believe them at first, but then something started scratching at the door. I got my 22 and I shot at it. I know I hit it once, but it ran off. Jim made notes in his books. Can you tell me what it looked like? It had gray skin, no fur, and big, pink eyes that glowed like flashlights. Jim stopped writing, looked up. It took all of his effort not to smile. How did you get such a good look at it in the dark? His partner asked. Were its eyes that bright? I had a flashlight too. About how tall was it? Asked Jim. Probably 4 to 5 feet tall. Mr. McDaniel, have you been drinking tonight? Asked Jim. No, the frustration evident in his voice. We were at a school meeting. He looked at his children. They saw it too. It was trying to get through the window with the air conditioner, said little Lil. It had short arms, but it was tall enough that it reached the bedroom window. And it had 3 legs, Henry added. Jim flipped his notebook closed without writing anything else. Okay, folks, we're going outside and take a look around. Be careful, whispered Lil. It might still be out there. Don't worry, we'll be careful, his partner gave a wink. They went to the front porch. Mr. McDaniel followed them out the door. Look here, Mr. McDaniel said to Jim, on the door and here on the side. He pointed to the deep scratches marks that were etched into the door and the frame. It did that. Jim traced his hand across the deep grooves. Huh, look at that. Sure looks like something was trying to get in, said his partner. Maybe it left some track prints, said Jim. He took his flashlight from his belt. Which way did you say it went? Mr. McDaniel answered. Point towards the train tracks, he said, pointing into the darkness. We'll take a look and be right back. Together the officers crossed the driveway with Jim's flashlight pointed to the ground. They hadn't gone far when they saw the tracks. Jim bent to study them. 2 big prints and a single smaller one just in front. Look! 6 toes on each. Do you know of any living creature that has 6 toes and 3 legs? No. Maybe they weren't making this up after all. And that's it. That's the what is the name of that? The Enfield horror. So
Pink
yeah.
eyes is what gets me. Like,
And they glowed like flashlights.
I mean, I have seen self-illuminating eyes, but never pink.
Yeah,
Never
me
pink.
neither. Me neither. So, well, you guys, we are coming up at 2 hours. I just want to say thank you so much, you guys, for spending a Saturday night with me and Sabrina. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the gifted memberships. Truly appreciated. Never expected, but again, always appreciated. If you guys want to hear us cover other stories, please feel free to email me at the Cryptid Podcast 72@gmail.com. Definitely would love to hear any things that you guys would like us to cover. If you guys have had an encounter and like to come on the show, please email me at the Cryptid Podcast 72@gmail.com. Yeah, Sabrina, you got anything?
Just thanks for everybody being here, and it's always so much fun being here and interacting with Dan and the chat and everybody. It's nice to have like a little group and a family, and it really does. It makes my night, and it's so much fun, and I'm thankful to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you're here as well. And again, so just some real quick updates going on. So tentatively, next Thursday, the Mysteries Unknown, we will be doing hopefully a live podcast like we used to. So stay tuned. I'll be dropping an announcement probably next week about that. Remember, we have 10 more days of the giveaway that I'm holding for this hat right here. So if you guys would like to get in on the drawing, all you got to do is become a member of the show. It's $2.99 for membership. If you are already a member, then you're already in the drawing. So without further ado, without all that being said, you guys, as Josh always likes to say, stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, remember, a legend begins with a sighting. Good night, everybody. Hope you have a great night. Thanks for stopping by.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?